In a world dominated by tech titans and digital disruption, most people wouldn't guess that the most profitable company on the planet isn't based in California or China. It's nestled in the deserts of Saudi Arabia. Apple might make your phone, and Amazon might deliver your packages, but neither generates wealth at the scale of Saudi Aramco, the oil juggernaut that silently powers the global economy. In 2022, it earned over $161 billion in net profit, making it the most profitable company in human history. But Aramco's story doesn't begin with profit. It begins with desperation. In the early 1930s, Saudi Arabia was a newly unified but poor desert kingdom. It had few natural resources, no major exports, and an economy largely based on subsistence agriculture, caravan trade, and pilgrimages to Mecca and Medina. The monarchy, led by King Abdulaziz ibn Saud, was searching for a lifeline. Oil, the black gold that was transforming economies from Texas to Tehran, became the ultimate prize. So, in 1933, a bold agreement was signed. The kingdom granted Standard Oil of California, now known as Chevron, a concession to explore for oil in its eastern province. The Americans arrived, armed with seismic equipment and hope, but little in the way of certainty. For years, their drills hit nothing but dry holes. The harsh desert, sweltering temperatures, and logistical nightmares tested their resolve. Then, in March 1938, everything changed. Dammam Well Number 7, dubbed the Prosperity Well, struck a gushing reserve of oil. Not just any oil. This was light, sweet, crude, easy to refine and abundant. The desert that once seemed barren turned out to be an ocean of energy hidden beneath the sand. From that moment, things moved quickly. By the 1940s, tankers were transporting Saudi oil to international markets. The Arabian-American Oil Company, shortened to Aramco, became a vital player in the global oil trade. The Americans built infrastructure, ports, roads, and refineries. The once remote region of Dhahran became a modern hub. Saudis, many of whom lived in tribal communities, began migrating to work in oil fields, ushering in rapid social change. Through the 1950s and 60s, Aramco expanded its operations. It discovered Ghawar, the world's largest onshore oil field, and Safania, the largest offshore field. These weren't just significant finds. They were unprecedented in scale. Production increased exponentially. The kingdom was transforming. Modern cities emerged, and with them came schools, hospitals, and industry. Still, the bulk of the profits flowed abroad to the American shareholders. That power dynamic wouldn't last. The 1970s marked a turning point. The post-colonial era had ignited resource nationalism across the developing world. Oil-producing countries wanted control. Saudi Arabia was no exception. After the 1973 oil embargo, which quadrupled oil prices and shook the Western economies, the Saudis moved to reclaim their wealth. Over the next few years, they gradually nationalized Aramco, buying out American shares. By 1980, Aramco was fully owned by the Saudi government. From that point forward, Saudi Aramco was no longer just a company. It was the beating heart of the Saudi state. It funded everything, from highways to housing, from defense to diplomacy. Roughly 70 to 90% of the kingdom's revenues came directly from oil. Aramco was not just the backbone of the Saudi economy, it was the economy. The company's operations were kept tightly under wraps. Aramco didn't publish annual reports or disclose profits. The public only knew that it was enormous, secretive, and essential. But behind the scenes, the company was developing world-class capabilities. It became a pioneer in oil extraction, refining, and energy logistics. Its engineering and safety standards rivaled those of the biggest multinationals. What made Aramco's dominance truly unique wasn't just the volume of oil, but the cost of producing it. While US shale producers might spend $40 or more to produce a barrel of oil, Aramco's production costs were as low as $3 to $5 per barrel. That meant, even when oil prices crashed, Aramco remained profitable. When prices soared, as they did in the 2000s and again in the 2020s, the company's earnings exploded. For decades, the company remained out of the spotlight. Then came the boldest move yet. In 2016, Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince, Mohammed bin Salman, unveiled Vision 2030, a sweeping plan to diversify the kingdom's economy away from oil. To fund it, he proposed something unprecedented: a partial public offering of Aramco. The idea stunned the world. The most secretive oil giant on Earth, finally opening its books. In 2019, it happened. Aramco listed 1.5% of its shares on the Tadawul, Saudi Arabia's stock exchange. The IPO raised $25.6 billion, the largest in history. The company was valued at nearly $2 trillion. Just 1.5% of Aramco was worth more than entire multinational corporations. Investors finally got a glimpse into its financials, and they were staggering. But Aramco's dominance isn't just about money. It's about scale, control, and geopolitical leverage. The company controls the world's second-largest proven oil reserves, over 260 billion barrels, and produces more than 10 million barrels per day, about 10% of global supply. Its infrastructure spans pipelines, tankers, refineries, and petrochemical plants. It owns or operates refineries in Asia, Europe, and the US. It's a vertically integrated machine. More importantly, Aramco gives Saudi Arabia global diplomatic clout. As a founding member of OPEC and the unofficial leader of OPEC+, Saudi Arabia can shape global oil prices. When Aramco increases or cuts production, economies tremble. Inflation rises or falls. Politicians in Washington, Beijing, and Brussels take notice. Oil, after all, remains the world's most traded commodity. Yet Aramco's path hasn't been without risk. In September 2019, drones and missiles attacked its Abqaiq and Kuray facilities, knocking out half the kingdom's production temporarily. It was the largest disruption in oil supply in history, greater than the 1979 Iranian Revolution. Though production was restored quickly, the attack underscored Aramco's vulnerability and the strategic risk it carries. There's also the elephant in the room: the energy transition. As the world fights climate change and moves toward renewables, Aramco's business model faces long-term uncertainty. Electric vehicles, solar power, hydrogen, and wind are on the rise. Countries are setting net zero targets. Oil's dominance won't end overnight, but its golden age is under pressure. Aramco is not ignoring this. The company has pledged to achieve net zero emissions from its own operations by 2050. It's investing in carbon capture, blue hydrogen, renewable energy, and even sustainable aviation fuels. It's also expanding its petrochemicals business, betting that plastics, fertilizers, and other products will remain in demand even as transportation shifts away from oil. But let's not be mistaken, oil remains its core business. In the near term, global demand is still growing, especially in emerging markets. Energy crises, like the one triggered by the war in Ukraine, have reminded policymakers that oil isn't going away anytime soon. In fact, high oil prices have only strengthened Aramco's position, and the numbers are staggering. In 2022, Aramco made more money than Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, and Alphabet combined. Its profit margin was over 25%, higher than nearly any other company in the Fortune 500. With oil prices above $80 per barrel, Aramco becomes a cash-printing machine. So how did Aramco become the most profitable company on Earth? Through a perfect storm of geology, geopolitics, monopoly control, and strategic patience. It discovered oil early. It built an empire around it. It took control from foreign interests. It mastered the industry from wellhead to gas pump. It leveraged its power on the global stage, and it did all of this while keeping costs remarkably low and output staggeringly high. But perhaps the most important reason is this. While the world rushes to build the future, Aramco controls the present. As long as cars need gas, planes need jet fuel, and industries need petrochemicals, Aramco will remain essential. It is not just a relic of the 20th century, it is a power broker of the 21st. The question is not whether Aramco will stay profitable. It almost certainly will. The question is whether it can adapt in time to a world that may eventually leave oil behind. Until then, as economies boom and falter, as governments rise and fall, as energy policies shift and evolve, Aramco continues its work. Quietly, relentlessly, profitably. In the middle of the desert, beneath the searing sun, Saudi Aramco stands as a monument to the modern world's dependence on energy. A colossus not built of glass and silicon, but of steel, sand, and oil. That's how Aramco became the most profitable company on Earth, and why it may remain so for years to come.